Hello and welcome to Politics 2.0. Ladies and gentlemen, please get ready to welcome the newest country in the world. Well, we don't know what it's going to be called officially, but now it's known as Iraqi Kurdistan. On the 25th of September 2017, the Iraqi Kurds vote in an independence referendum to decide whether or not to break away from Iraq and form a new country. The region is buzzing with excitement, and who could blame them, as Iraqi Kurdistan could become the first modern independent Kurdish state. What makes Iraqi Kurdistan fascinating is that it looks a lot different from the rest of Iraq. Despite being a part of Iraq, the region has been enjoying autonomy since 1991. They have their own government, president, and an army known as the Peshmerga. While the rest of Iraq was suffering from instability and violence, especially since the American-led invasion in 2003, Iraqi Kurdistan has remained fairly stable. This encouraged foreign investment, and Iraqi Kurdistan's economy boomed on the back of its oil resources, attracting many foreign workers. It's also seen as a safe haven for religious minorities fleeing violence elsewhere in Iraq. They have malls, fashion clubs, FTV parties, beauty pageants. Malala was in Iraqi Kurdistan for her 20th birthday. Top Gear's Middle East special episode was shot here, with Jeremy Clarkson pretending that he was driving under some sort of grave danger there.
This is how you go around a corner in Iraq. Creep in about 1 mile an hour.
Oh, Jeremy, now you're just embarrassing yourself. But it's not all perfect in Iraqi Kurdistan. It still suffers from poverty, corruption, and flash mobs. Although the independence referendum has massive support at home, it has been facing almost unanimous opposition from the neighboring countries such as Turkey and Iran. Even though Turkey is one of Iraqi Kurdistan's major trade partners, it is concerned about the impact of an independent Kurdish state on Turkey's own Kurdish population. The United States, whose main aim in Iraq is to defeat ISIS, has recently adopted a tougher stance on the referendum. The US State Department released a statement that the referendum would adversely affect the anti-ISIS efforts. Israel has been the only country to openly back the referendum. And it goes without saying that Iraq, which is losing a large chunk of its area, has a problem with the referendum. The big question here is, how exactly do you set the borders of a new country? This is the official area of Kurdistan, but since 2014, it has captured this extra territory by defeating ISIS. The Iraqi government also claims ownership of these areas, and the dispute is at its greatest in the ethnically mixed, oil-rich region of Kirkuk. The Kurdistan government has decided to include Kirkuk in the referendum, but say that they would respect the will of the people of Kirkuk, whatever the outcome of the referendum may be. The Kurds accuse the Iraqi government of not complying with the Article 140 of the Iraqi constitution that calls for a referendum to settle territory disputes. The real challenge would be a peaceful transition to independence in an increasingly hostile political environment. Apart from the recent economic situation worsened by the fall in global oil prices, there are some internal political challenges too. The Iraqi Kurdistan government is ruled by a coalition of these two parties, the Kurdistan Democratic Party, the KDP, and the Patriotic Union of Kurdistan, or the PUK. These two parties fought a civil war between 1994 and 1997, but now see each other as good partners. The president of the Kurdistan regional government, Masoud Barzani, still remains in power despite the fact that his already extended presidential term had expired over 2 years ago. His nephew, Nechervan Barzani, is the prime minister, and his son, Masroor Barzani, is the head of intelligence. Opposition groups accuse the government of corruption and are even opposing the referendum. However, if we look at the situation from Masoud Barzani's point of view, his family has been at the leadership of the Kurdish independence movement in Iraq. His father, Mustafa Barzani, led 2 wars against Iraq in the 1960s and the 1970s. And Masoud Barzani himself was one of the leaders in a rebellion in the 1980s. The Kurdish struggle in Iraq has been by far the bloodiest of all Kurdish struggles, with hundreds of thousands of lives lost. This might be a reason why Masoud Barzani wishes to remain in power until Iraqi Kurdistan is independent. An independent Kurdistan would be his greatest legacy. Finally, but most importantly, winning the referendum on the 25th of September does not mean immediate independence, but the result of the referendum would be used as leverage in future bargaining and dealings with the Iraqi government. So when can we expect to see a completely independent Kurdistan? According to President Barzani, in 1 year or a maximum of 2 years. A chance to undo some of the evils of the colonial partitioning of the Middle East. Our prediction for the referendum? An overwhelming yes vote in favor of independence. So, are you excited to welcome a new country? Let us know in the comments below. This video was part of our Middle East series, by the end of which we hope you would be experts in Middle East politics. If you liked the video, please share and subscribe. Peace.